happy to be here in this beautiful city, in this beautiful room. Can you see me okay back there? All right. Well, let's talk about data. As an American visiting Europe, there are so many wonderful things here to appreciate. And frankly, so many things I wish I could take home with me to the States. And as someone who's worked in audio research for almost 2 decades, there is one thing I can pinpoint that I really wish Americans could experience, especially in the car, and that is DAB radio. Edison Research provides consumer listener research in many countries across the globe. And today, I'll share with you some figures that will help paint a picture of radio's reach in the car around the world. And we'll see how the strongest radio markets are the markets with DAB or DAB plus radio. We'll look at a number of studies from Edison Research, starting with some foundational research from WorldDAB that reminds us just how important radio in the car is to consumers. We'll also have consumer data from Edison's infinite dial studies from the United States and the UK. And what I'm most excited about is what you should be excited about is the fact that I have fresh, brand new data from the Infinite Dial New Zealand and Infinite Dial Australia, both of which were just released. Actually, I'm not quite sure if it was this morning or last night. Time zones are confusing, but brand new data that we haven't seen before. So I'll be taking you around the globe today. We'll start with UK, France, and Germany with the Dashboard Dialogue Study. This study was commissioned by WorldDAB in 2023 and designed to get a deeper understanding of how important it is for consumers to have easy access to radio on the dashboard. In order to reflect attitudes on most recent vehicles in the market, we screened for those who purchased or leased a vehicle in the past 3 years. And then we also surveyed people who plan to purchase or lease a vehicle within the next year. We spoke directly to participants in their cars, and then we also conducted national representative surveys in these 3 countries. If you are not familiar with this research, I encourage you to check it out in full on the WorldDAB website. Now, if you are familiar with this research, I think it's worth revisiting some of the key findings of this report. And we found among the recent and prospective car buyers in the UK, France, and Germany, 86% listened to FM or DAB plus radio in a car or vehicle in the last week. And that was more than any other audio source. And this is the first finding. Radio is the most listened to audio platform in the car. Now, we also learned that 91% of recent and prospective buyers agree radio is 1 click away. And our in-depth interviews helped us understand that removing friction in the in-car audio experience increases car satisfaction. So if you want people to like your car, you need to have radio in the dashboard easily with 1 click. So we know that car is good for radio, and radio is good for the car. And that's why it's not so surprising to learn that 91% of recent and prospective car buyers said it was important that their recent or next vehicle has FM or DAB plus radio. And this is the final finding of this study. Radio is an essential part of the in-car experience. Again, if I see some of you taking pictures, if this is new to you, please go to the WorldDAB website for the full report. There's also a video of the full presentation from a couple of years ago. Of course, this study, Dashboard Dialogue, was fielded in 2023. What is radio's reach in the car in 2025? So let's start with a non-DAB market and look at the latest research from the United States. The infinite dial has been measuring consumer media behavior since 1998. We actually, back then, we asked the question, have you ever used electronic mail? That was, email back then. So we've been measuring consumer behavior for years with this study every single year, tracking it as we go on. So it's become the survey of record for a number of important media channels, including streaming audio, podcasting, broadcasting, and social media. This is a huge nationally represented study in the US of people aged 12 and older, and is offered both in English and Spanish. And we asked those in the US who have driven or ridden in a car in the last month if they've had Apple CarPlay or Android Auto in their primary vehicle. Now, if you combine the two systems to represent any phone-integrated system in their vehicles, we see quite a large growth in adoption, going from 26% in 2023 to just under a third of the population in 2024, and 40% today. Now, these devices mean users are easily connected to a huge amount of entertainment options in the car. So, does the fact that 40% of Americans now have phone systems in their cars spell disaster for radio in the US? I'll ask you, is it a disaster? No, thank you for those of you who's, oh, that's not fair, it was Patrick. No. When we asked which of the following sources Americans currently use in the car, and way ahead on the top of the list is AM/FM radio at 74%. Keep in mind, this list is not mutually exclusive. A respondent can say they use multiple sources, and as you can see, they do. That's why we also see a majority of drivers also listen to online audio. Now, 55% use online audio in the car. That can be any number of digital audio sources streamed over the internet, either via phone or directly through the vehicle system. Podcasting listening ranks at number 3 in the car in the US. That's 31% choosing to listen to podcasts on the road. Sirius XM, of course, only in the US, comes in at 24%. And car ownership turns over slowly in the US. So it shouldn't be too surprising that there are car CD players still around, and 24% of drivers reported using them. Let's shift to a market across the world, to New Zealand. Now, we just released the study in New Zealand. Here's a look at the in-car data from that study. Here's some trending data from the past few studies. In 2022, 21% of those have ridden, of the 21% of those who have ridden in a car have an Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. When we did the study the following year, that increased to 26%. And here's the brand new wave of data right here in pink. As of 2025, 31% have these types of connections in their cars. So I'll ask again, does the fact that 30% of drivers now have phone systems in their cars spell disaster for radio in New Zealand? No, this one's easy. Of course not. Radio is key in the car in New Zealand, too. It stands out way ahead of any other platform used in the car at 72%. I'll drop in that US data for comparison. I should note these methodologies were slightly different. The car data from New Zealand is among those 16 and older, and in the US, it's among those 18 and older. And of course, these markets are slightly different. There's no Sirius satellite radio in New Zealand, but radio usage is quite similar. Online audio comes in second in both markets. However, the gap between online audio and radio is much bigger in New Zealand. Radio is much more dominant in New Zealand than the US. Now, I'll look at these audio sources in the car through one more lens. What do you think happens when we look at usage by those who own an Apple CarPlay or Android Auto? Surely, those who have access to that new technology in their cars would use online audio sources more than terrestrial radio, right? What do you think? No, you should know this by now. This dashboard technology is great for radio. 80% of those with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto use radio in the car in New Zealand, compared to 72% of the general population. In fact, in-car technology is driving overall audio consumption usage. Also, every single audio source, except the CD player for obvious reasons, has increased among this technology. Now, I wish we had infinite dial from every country in the world to share with you, but there's just 2 more studies to show, and both of them are in DAB markets. After a few years of hiatus, we are pleased to bring back the Infinite Dial UK in 2025. The last time we fielded the study was 2021, and back then, 17% of those who ride in a car had a phone integration system. In 2025, that number more than doubled to 38%. Let's look at that next to other countries. UK is trailing the US only by 2 percentage points. And what does that mean for radio in the car? Well, it means that radio is consistently #1 across continents. 72% of drivers in the UK use radio, with online audio coming in second. Let's compare the top 2 sources by reach. The gap between online audio and radio is much bigger in the UK than it is in the US. You can see, so we have 41% to 72 versus 55 to 74. Much bigger gap. And if you recall, phone integration systems in the UK cars only lag to the US by 2 points. So again, as technology in the dashboard advances, consumers are still choosing radio. And of course, the beauty of DAB radio is that it merges the great content available on terrestrial radio with the digital technology people are looking to adopt. And our final report will showcase one of the strongest markets, radio markets, in the world, Australia. This report went live, again, I'm not sure, last night, this morning. It's brand new. I'm thrilled to share it. We've been conducting this research in Australia annually since 2019, and in that time, we've watched the technology in the car change rapidly. Here's the percent who own Apple CarPlay or Android Auto in their primary vehicle. In just the past 3 years, it's almost double. It's increased from 36% in 2023 to 52% in 2025. And that 52% beats every other measurement in phone integration systems we've seen today. And what have we noticed when we find access to more technology in the car? High reach across all audio, and in the car in Australia, radio is top dog with a reach of 84%, followed by music streaming at 50%, podcasts at 36%, CDs, still going strong, 29%, and downloaded music at 21%. Now, I should note on this slide, Australia's report reported it slightly differently than these other reports that we saw today. The total radio includes over-the-air and radio streaming services. So if I were to remove the radio streaming services from this radio figure, we would lose 3 percentage points at 81%. So to more fairly compare Australia's in-car reach with other markets, we'll go with the 81% from Australia. And even with that correction from 84 to 81, we see that radio listening in the car in Australia is the highest among all markets we've seen today. So to wrap up, here are some key takeaways. Consumers want radio in their vehicles. We know from the foundational dashboard dialogue research that consumers expect easy access to radio in the car, and they wouldn't want to buy a vehicle without it. Now, radio dominates cars universally from 72% to 84% across 5 countries and 3 continents. Whether you have traditional AM/FM radio or advanced DAB radio, radio reaches the most people in the car. Connected cars enhance radio rather than threaten it. We saw higher radio usage among connected car users. Radio is served well by dashboard upgrades in the car, and a smart dashboard design includes radio. And finally, DAB+ leads the way. Australia's reach in the car isn't just impressive, it shows us the future. More digital radio options don't fragment the audience, they strengthen radio's appeal. Radio doesn't just offer great content, it offers shared experiences, local connection, and so much more. Thanks to WorldDAB for advocating to keep radio in reach for so many people around the world. And thank you for bringing me across the Atlantic to speak about it. All of these studies I've cited today are available on edisonresearch.com, or you can reach out to me with any questions at mlazovick@edisonresearch.com. Thank you so much for your time and attention today.